Greetings, Flameborn. This is Eerie Knight of the Pseudoposse, and we're back in another update of Enshrouded, which just happens to focus on one of my favorite aspects of the game: building. I've spent several hours playing the update and have compiled these incredibly easy building tips based on all the new features from the update. And before we begin, I just want to say congratulations to King Games on your 1-year anniversary of the game. Your development team has continued to build upon the success of the initial launch and kept the game regularly updated with a ton of new content. And most importantly, you take player feedback to heart, which means a lot to me and I'm sure others as well. So from myself, Taco, and on behalf of our audience, thank you all for an excellent first year and an even better second. Alright, without further ado, let's dive into the building tips so you can get the most out of the new features and build your ultimate dream home. This first one isn't so much a tip, rather a call out to an excellent new feature that allows you to enter first person mode. Sometimes the camera can get a bit unwieldy when trying to place blocks or props in third person, so switching to first person is an absolute godsend. Simply having a build hammer in hand or a prop in hand, and you can press F to toggle between the first and third person. The next new feature is also a godsend, in theory. That statement will make sense shortly. There is a new toggleable feature when in build mode that allows you to use materials from magic chests by pressing Ctrl plus right click. However, you currently only see 2 materials available despite my magic chests being full of materials. It would seem that at least one of that given material must be in your inventory backpack in order for all available materials to show up from your chests. Removing that single material causes the rest of them to disappear. Not sure if this is intended or a bug, but it would seem to me that toggling use magic chests should allow you to access all materials without needing a sample of that material in your backpack, which kind of defeats the convenience of that option. I submitted a bug report on this, so if King Games is watching, definitely be aware of this weird kink. So at this juncture, you might ask yourself, Eerie, that last one wasn't really a tip either. And I would counter, not even a little tippy? Okay, you got me, but from here on out, just the tips, I swear. First real tip: until the magic chest thing is sorted out, a workaround that will cut down on the number of trips to the chest to grab some materials is to remove a single block from anywhere within the Flame Altar region, giving you access to all of that particular material. Place a few blocks of that material and remove them. And this is important: manually remove them instead of undoing the last build actions. By manually removing, you essentially transfer a few blocks from your chest into your backpack, thus granting you access to all of the remaining materials in your magical chest. This trick does have the downside that if you want to access a block material you currently haven't placed in the region, then you will have to go to your chest to collect some of it. Otherwise, you can easily gain access to your other materials. The next several tips relate to a powerful new feature that allows you to precisely rotate many objects about different axes. Before the update, you were limited to rotating objects around the vertical axis only. Now, however, you can rotate around all 3 spatial axes for certain objects. You can access this feature by pressing R plus right click, which pops up all 3 rotation options represented by dashed lines and arrows. Holding R, T, or G will allow you to rotate along that axis by simultaneously scrolling the mouse wheel. Holding one of those keys will cause all other options to fade, just showing the single rotation option. So holding R allows you to rotate like so, and holding G gives you a horizontal rotation. Similarly, there is also a fine-tuned control for position, which allows you to adjust the horizontal and vertical positions by holding the appropriate keys and mouse scrolling. With that little tutorial out of the way, here are some tips. As you move your character around, the axes can switch. As I move around the cup, the blue and red axes are changing, though the keys assigned to the given colors remain the same. T controls blue, and G controls red. So be cognizant that if you intend to do a particular rotation and move your character, double check what the current mapping of the rotation to key input is at that moment. Otherwise, you'll need to fix your rotations to get what you want. Essentially, the left, right, forward, back rotations are relative to your positioning, not the object's frame of reference. If, however, you need to entirely reset your rotation, you can either toggle off the fine-tune rotation or switch to another object on your toolbar. Same principle applies to the fine-tune positioning as well. Speaking of the rotation and position fine-tuning, you can have both toggled at the same time, so you can fine-tune both rotation and position simultaneously, which gives you incredible control over your object placement. Recall how I mentioned not all objects have the capability to freely rotate upon all three axes? Well, an easy way to tell is to check if the object in question has a fine-tune rotation option. If it only has the rotation options from previous updates, then it cannot rotate along any of the horizontal axes. It should also be mentioned that while many props have the option, none of the building blocks can rotate in all three dimensions. That, I am guessing, is currently constrained by the voxel system, but it would be super cool to have some limited rotation options in the future. Most, if not all decorations, there are too many to individually test, but I would guess most are completely rotatable. Here are some examples of some things that can be freely rotated from a variety of categories. Lights can be rotated, the iron gate, even doors, cabinets, windows, and surprisingly, production stations can be rotated about all three axes. For those wondering what some practical applications of this rotation feature might be, may I present a few simple use cases. First, it is now easier than ever to make yourself some great flooring. Get it? Great flooring? Sorry, couldn't resist that one. It can be helpful to place some guiding blocks to get the positioning correct, but once you've created some space in the floor to place your grate, rotate it into position and maneuver just so right that it fits in like a glove. Simple and looks great. Okay, that one was unintentional, I swear. If you've got yourself an angled staircase, you can now freely rotate a railing to fit the slope and angle. Definitely not earth-shattering, but it is a nice touch you couldn't do previously. A more creative, but still extremely easy project you can do with this feature is to rotate a large cabinet, and it needs to be large, such that it is horizontal as well. You can then use it to slot in some chests to make a nice decorative storage unit. Place some blocks on the side, maybe some lighting on top using one of the new block materials in the update, and blammo, a simple storage unit with little effort. And probably one of the nicest things you can do now is angling a door to make a nice cellar entrance into an underground bunker, base, basement, whatever you've got down below. Simply angle a door, place some blocks around said door, nothing fancy, and voila. A cellar door that currently leads to nowhere. Hint, foreshadowing the next video. Wink, wink. Okay, we're finally moving on from the rotation stuff. I know that was a bit long, but it really is a powerful feature with lots of potential, and I feel I barely scratched the surface of it. Anyways, on to food. In our last Enshrouded video, I joked around how all the plates and bowls and cups were empty, and for Keen to add that ability in the future. Now, I'm not saying they listened to me because the video only predated the update by about 6 weeks or so, and the implementation of this feature probably happened a while ago in the update's development. But I'm not saying they listened to me, so let's just go with it. Basically, the idea is simple. You can place food or beverages into the appropriate vessel, not unlike how you put tamed animal food into the feeders. Did Keen Games just tame all of us? Anyways, any food item or drink can be slotted in, even the ectoplasm soup and potions. However, only these plates and coasters can be used for this purpose. All other decorative dishware cannot hold these items. A small restriction, but otherwise I am happy they added this little detail. Oh, hey there, Taco. Nice to see you and all, but you are slightly in the way of the frame. Kind of like seeing a secondary camera or boom mic on film. Not that I'm wishing for the capability for a detached free-roaming camera view type feature, but I am also not wishing for such a thing. Moving on, let's now discuss the overgrowth tool, which is crafted from the farmer. This allows you to place around 3 different kinds of ivies, also crafted from the farmer, across your builds. There are some caveats. It doesn't work on terrain. It does, however, work on block materials and looks rather beautiful. And while you can place it on roof materials, I would recommend not doing so, as it really isn't visible despite consuming ivy material. From my tests at the time of recording, it isn't visible on the exterior or interior of the roof. Not sure if this is intended, but it would be nice to actually see the ivy on the roofing textures. And finally, the decay tool. This one is crafted from the collector and allows you to add a weathered, destroyed aesthetic to building materials only. Again, no terrain. on your typical building block, it does what the tool says, make it look decayed. However, you'll notice the effect is only applied to the edges. Attempting to decay any central blocks has no noticeable effect on any of the textures. Edges, yes. Interior, no. I think it would be cool in a future patch or update to also have a texture change on the interior blocks, and perhaps different stages of decay? Just spitballing, but that could be cool. Unlike the overgrowth tool, the decay tool actually does affect roofing blocks. Since pitched roofs are essentially shaped like stairs, it technically is all edges from the game's perspective, so the decay tool really shines here. However, on flat roofs, the effect isn't really noticeable, even on the edges. Well, that's pretty much it, everyone. Hope you all are inspired to go forth and use these new features to their fullest and build something truly awe-inspiring, or at least mildly more visually pleasing. That works too. If you've got any bright ideas for how to use this rotation system, share it in the comments so everyone can crowdsource some good ideas. And if the idea is truly mind-blowing, I'll include it in a future video and shout out the person's genius and gratitude. Thanks for stopping by our corner of YouTube. Consider liking the video, as that helps out a ton by stretching out the corners a bit to cover a larger area. And if you aren't already a part of the posse, consider subbing and tapping the bell for notifications, so you don't miss out on the next video. I'd also like to extend a special shout out to our awesome Patreon community. Your generosity helps keep the channel going. Thank you all so much. On that note, this is Eerie Knight and Visible Taco Camera Woman signing off. See you all in the next one.